Hey guys, welcome back to News 13 at 4. Thanks for sticking with us through the aftermath of Hurricane Michael coverage. We're here in Port St. Joe in Gulf County. We had a lot of people reach out to us on Facebook and through social media saying that they've heard a lot of coverage for the Bay County area.
Right.
There were a lot more areas affected by Hurricane Michael than just Bay County, and Gulf County being one of those severely affected. Now we're joined here as well by Linda from one of our sister stations, so I'm going to let you introduce yourself a little bit.
Okay, well, thanks, Carly. Linda Ong here from News 2 in Nashville, the ABC affiliate. So happy to help out with the coverage, of course, because we're just seeing so many impacted areas that we need to highlight. So we're trying to go everywhere we can. And as Carly was just mentioning, we're in downtown Port St. Joe. Just around us, we're just seeing so much damage behind us. Sunset Grill, you know, this is a popular place that so many go to, so many memories. Again, one of the many local businesses impacted by the hurricane. And Carly, you're going to talk to the owner in a little bit, but just kind of, if you can, pan around to see how much damage we have around us. The gas stations, the Burger King, you know, obviously now no longer working. We're not even sure yet at this point what is the next step, if they'll even be salvageable, because of course not only is the damage on the outside but to the interior of those buildings. So, you know, this area, one of the hardest hit after the hurricane made landfall.
That's right. And now if you can see those gas stations, there are two here. These are the two main gas stations in Port St. Joe. A lot of people rely on these businesses here to get those necessities for travel and whatnot. So a really big deal to have these down right now. And that just kind of speaks to some of the needs that are here in Gulf County. Obviously, travel is essential, whether you're going to work, you're going to get supplies, or the rest of those necessities in order to stay alive. Food, water, you need to be able to travel. And so gas is one of those resources here that's really limited right now, and this just kind of goes to show. You can see just the complete devastation, though, and you know, these are just right across the street from the water as well, and it just, the widespread of this devastation is just shocking, and you can really see that's really evident here in the small town of Port St. Joe.
Exactly, and again, as Carly is going to be interviewing and talking to the owner in just a little bit, but from the outside you can see all the damage out here, but in the midst of all this destruction, there are some items that are still standing here. I'm going to highlight them in just a second, but it's amazing to see. It's kind of symbolic of the resilience of the people in this area. They're around here. They're making sure that they can do whatever they can. It's a long process, but they're out here trying to salvage those items still intact, and that really speaks to, like I said, the resilience and the determination of the people here, that they're not going to let this hurricane set them back.
That's right, and everyone's kind of saying that same thing that we've spoken with here. We've been in Gulf County all day long now, and we've gotten to speak to a lot of people. The Gulf County community is small, but there are so many benefits to that. A lot of people know each other, so there's a lot of neighbor helping neighbor here, which is, of course, amazing to see. And really, again, just that theme of resiliency. You know, there's just this destruction all around, but people still have such a positivity, and there are so many people coming from all over to help this community. I know you're going to talk to some people in a little bit, hopefully, about their travel here to bring goods as well.
Right, so many people traveling from near and far, 16, 17 plus hours to make that trip all the way here. Of course, those people feel lucky. Some of them have family in this area impacted by the hurricane. So not only are they checking on their loved ones, but they're taking that opportunity to bring in much needed supplies. So much water is needed, food, because it's not just today, it's just not tomorrow, it's going to be months, years, it's going to be a long time. And we're seeing kind of those volunteers come from every angle. You know, it surprises us just to see just how many people are coming on their own accord, on their own will, to make sure they can help out in any way they can. Nobody asked them to come here, but they feel compelled to help out.
That's true, and we can't forget about the local people who are helping out as well. A lot of these law enforcement officials and other workers that are helping to provide relief are from here. They also had homes, property, and things devastated by Hurricane Michael, and they're still here donating resources, time, money, whatever they can to help get these affected areas back on their feet. And I mean, just earlier when we were near the Mexico Beach area as well, we saw people working on power and things like that. And a lot of these linemen, I mean, they're from the area, and they come from all over as well, and they're here giving their time because they know how important it is to get these lifelines back up and running. And we've seen so much progress over the past 8 days since the storm hit, just how far it has come. We've all seen the pictures on Facebook, the internet, you know, television as well, and it's shocking to see, but it's also shocking to see how far we've come in just a little bit over a week, considering how much damage there was.
Yeah, so it's a good sign. One thing we also saw, I mentioned it's not glamorous. We saw some garbage trucks coming over to collect waste, and you know what? That's a good sight to see, especially considering the conditions there are now, because that means that, you know, the debris is being cleared, the trash is being cleared, making way for people to be able to move forward. And they're not things that you usually think about on a day-to-day basis. Seeing a garbage truck is no big deal, but here it is, and we hope to see more of that.
Never thought you'd be excited to see a garbage truck, but it's a really big deal. People are really happy about that. Yeah. But let's just get right to it. Let's start talking to some people that were affected by Hurricane Michael. So we're going to walk over here. We showed you a little bit of the Sunset Grill here, owned by the Blaylock family. Now, they've had this restaurant here right on the water for about 16 years. I'm told that in November was going to be their 16-year mark. It looks a little different than it has the past few years. I have Dewey here and his wife. If you guys want to come step on this side with me here, we can get a look at the restaurant behind. Now, you guys built this from the ground up, you told me. So to see it look the way it does now, what does it feel like?
It's just kind of devastating. It's this was built to hurricane code. It's supposed to be Cat 5 code, and to see something like this storm come through and do this is pretty amazing. It's amazing force of nature.
I mean, the devastation that this storm has caused is shocking, and we all know how quickly it strengthened as well as it approached the coast. And like you said, this was to code. So does it shock you that this is the damage that came from this hurricane?
It does. It really shocks me. And we drove in, and we looked like the back wall was standing, and our hopes were up, and we came around the side to look, and just, not only is the front wall gone, but the next wall's gone, and all the stuff's pushed back in there. It was kind of devastating.
Yeah, right. And now there are a lot of buildings that kind of look like that. From the road, you might think.
There are. There was a lot of water damage throughout town, south to town there. When that water came across this road, and we're on this side of it, when it came across the road, all the houses on that side are heavily damaged. Most of them are going to have to be tear downs, I think. But I'm not an insurance guy, so.
Yeah, I mean, the devastation just to the blind eye, it is. It's just shocking. Did you ever imagine that this would be something you would deal with? I mean, living on the coast, you know that you get storms, but something of this magnitude?
Well, we bought flood insurance, so we're better off than maybe a few people, but and we have to wait for the adjusters to tell us what we can do. But no, I didn't imagine. I didn't think this, because I've studied hurricanes for years. I lived on the Cape through Dennis and Ivan. I stayed on the Cape through Dennis and Ivan. We watched the hurricanes go south and go to the west. And I always felt that if a hurricane came into the Gulf just around the Destin area and then turned and came right at us, it would be a problem. And this is what this one did.
How does this compare to the other hurricanes that you've weathered? Because a lot of people that I spoke to in this area, I was here right before the storm, were like, well, it's Florida. We're used to storms. We're used to hurricanes. But this was just, I think, beyond what anyone expected.
It was. I've never left. In fact, we owned a home out on the Cape up until several years ago. And when both Dennis and Ivan came through, the water in this bay was only 4 foot higher than high tide, which is not that high. This was obviously, 12.
We figured out about 15 foot hit this building. 12
to 15 feet here to do this kind of damage, because this floor is supposed to be about 11 feet above sea level.
Oh, wow.
And we've got a watermark of 3 feet on the back wall in the meeting room.
Wow. So to see that, I mean, where does your mind even go to see that watermark?
You got to climb through the building first, and that's a little dangerous right now.
Yeah.
But
it looks like it. If you want to take a look at the building again.
Yeah, everything is piled up. So
the kitchen is straight ahead, and every piece of equipment is really now like a 10-foot area instead of a 20-foot area. And then the bar, if you look at the bar, there's still wine glasses hanging in the bar, and there's still wine bottles in the bar, and my light fixture is still there. We've got fans still here, but then everything else is just matchsticks.
This area that has no floor and nothing here, that was what we considered our porch seating. It was all enclosed and air conditioned. These were hurricane windows in these frames. And then behind that was another wall which had windows from an old ladies Miss Wilder's house. Patty would know better, but a Miss Wilder's house that she served food to the mill workers. And so we had built that second wall with those old windows in it. So there was two views through
And
there.
I've not found evidence of any of those windows in this structure.
And the floor in that middle section is also blown out from about halfway down to the end.
And so now you can see some windows down there underneath the structure as well. Were those the ones that were looking out to the Gulf? Or?
Yeah,
Those were the
in
storm
these-
windows, yeah.
Yeah.
So now we've heard so many people say, I used to come eat here all the time. I loved it here. I mean, here for almost 16 years. You were so close to that 16-year mark. Can you just try to describe what your establishment meant to the community?
Wow, yeah.
So many memories in this place.
No, I mean, when we opened, you know, the community really welcomed us. St. Joe Company, which for years was the large established company here, is the one that sold this property to us with the requirement that we build a nice restaurant, which we had intended already. So we met what they had hoped to have come to the area, and then people would just started coming. And you know, we initially, because it's a vacation area, you just try to do evenings, and then you try to do just certain days to make sure you're running the business properly. But Sunday brunches turned into a town affair. It was everybody from church would come after town, and Patty would enjoy chatting with everybody after church. And then we started opening for lunches, and it became a really popular place for lunches. You know, you've met Tim over there, and Tim and his buddies.
Got a burger named after him.
Has a burger named after him. You know, the Busted Burger.
We got to get that menu back up and running so Tim can get his burger.
That's right.
I want to talk about a different direction. Being open almost 16 years, we have graduated a lot of kids. And one of them is now the principal of the high school here. And one of them is a doctor of physical therapy here in our community. They've gone away and they've come back. And, I see that with so many people. One is the director over at Mexico Beach, who totally lost her home. So many of these people worked here, and we worked really hard to say, okay, we're going to do this community event. We want you to give your time. And tried to push to be part of the community. And I always donated the senior breakfast, because the first year they were going to the cafeteria and they weren't really getting a breakfast. So after that, every senior breakfast was here for 15 years, and that's where I feel that our community, we wanted to be so much a part of this community, because it's such an amazing community. And just if you've walked around, you've met these people, and nobody's not helping someone. And I'd be open and serving food if I could. He had to talk me down. So I just, that's how I feel about Port St. Joe. It's very dear.
We had you can kind of see where the bar was in the center there, where the wall's blown out. I'm sorry. And we had a wall in the bar that when the kids, anybody would work here, and when they had spent a fair amount of time here, when they went on to their college, to the future careers, they would sign the wall.
They would date it and sign it, and they'd come back all the time and check it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Or if they came on, they added their start date again until they were going to go off again. I mean, we have one tiny little piece of that wall left. We found it today.
Well, at least you have that one special part of the wall back as well.
We do.
Yeah.
So now you guys really helped build the community in a way with all of the people you graduated, as you said, and just for being that hub for people to come and spend special time together, whether it's after church or just for, a nice meal during sunset and that kind of thing. You guys know this community. How would you describe the Port St. Joe community?
Oh, it's torn up. you know, any hurricane that you go see, you know, I've been all up and down the coast, you know, in Orange Beach and Mobile, and Panama City when it's gotten hit. My daughter lives in Fort Myers, so she just went through a hurricane earlier. You know, watching the southeastern hurricanes. This is a hurricane that we really didn't want here, and this community is torn up really bad. I mean, all the businesses are scraping to try to feed each other. They're scraping to try to provide gas for each other. You know, all of our hospital and our schools are trying to be open, trying to provide a place of refuge for people. But it's going to be really tough on the rebuilding. But this community, it's Port St. Joe strong.
Yes, Port St. Joe strong. That's what we're saying.
Definitely. Now, you had mentioned to me that your daughter is bringing supplies from Fort Myers, which is amazing, and so many people are traveling from out of town to try and provide relief.
Especially because they just went through Irma. You know, she went through 3 weeks of no power, and this is very much striking home for all of those people that she knows down there. And she's bringing preschool supplies, so we can get parents to be able to drop their kids off at preschool, which they're now reopening, and so that they can go back to work, or they can at least take time to clean up their houses or homes or businesses. And she's bringing money. She says they're just giving her money, and we're going to see what we can do to put it back in this community.
Yeah, we really need to try to rebuild. There's a lot of people that won't have jobs. They don't have that steady income, and we need housing for them. We need supplemental labor, and we're going to need funds to do that with. You know, I know a friend of mine in North Georgia donated $1,000 already. So, you know, it's across the Southeast. Everybody's come here for vacation, and it's like, oh wow, it hit Port St. Joe. No.
I can't tell them where to donate the money at this point. I know there are several GoFundMe sites and things like that, but the ones I've seen, those people are honest people, and they're going to get it back in here. I mean, they know exactly on the ground who needs money.
You know, people like one of our local concrete guys, he comes and does foundations and things. He's mobilized his crew to help do cleanup, partly because, you know, they don't have a way to make money either. He's trying to keep them paid. You know, our electricians and plumbers, they're all mobilizing their folks to help with this. You know, the new home building is stopped for a moment, and we're going to try to keep them busy with taking care of people here in town.
Well, we appreciate you coming out here and talking to us and talking to the other people you're going to talk to today, because everybody that I see on your list, they're strong. They have strong feelings about this community. Most of them have grown up here and lived here all their life. We haven't, but we feel like we have. So just, you know, if there's somebody out here listening and they want to donate, or they want to bring sheets and pillowcases over, I mean, it's minimal. It's minimal things. Eventually we're going to need business clothes and things like that. But right now, I mean, I think we're getting water, we're getting food, but now it's going to be the other part, the next step. So.
Well, thank you guys so much for talking with me. I know this isn't an easy thing to talk about when you see your establishment the way it is, but like you said, Port St. Joe's strong, and I know I've seen so much positivity in this community in the few hours I've been here since the storm, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate you coming over.
All right, now we're going to head this way where Linda has some more people over here that she's going to talk to. A big question has been about water and power, those necessities that you need to survive. I know officials were telling people if you evacuated and you're somewhere safe, stay where you are if you can. If you can't, please, you come back, but know that you'll need to be able to supply those things in order to provide relief for yourself. You'll be without water, power, food, water. You're going to need to probably provide for that on your own. So those are some things that people have been aware of, and I know you have an update on the water situation here.
Yes, we do. Of course, water, people are just hoping and praying, when are they going to get that water? Because we need it for everything, for shower, for drinking, everything. So, what we have right here joining us is Jay Risch. He is the owner of Lighthouse Utilities. You provide the water in town. So tell us, What is the current situation when it comes to water for the residents in this area?
Okay, Linda, we are providing water for the south end of Cape San Blas, north end of Cape San Blas. That's the St. Joseph State Park, Indian Pass areas, down in Simmons Bayou areas. These places were devastated, hit terribly hard by Michael. Right now, we have been able to get our main plant back online with Duke Energy power. And I want to let you know, the linemen are our heroes. They have really been in here 24/7. They've got our three-phase power restored. The biggest issue that we have right now with our water utility is there's a local area called the Stump Hole or the Rocks area, where it's a very shallow area between St. Joseph Bay and the Gulf of Mexico. That was totally overwhelmed by Michael. We probably have lost somewhere in the neighborhood of a quarter to a half a mile of main. The DOT is out there right now trying to put together the road. We can't do a thing about that till they put the road together. We're looking at all of our options, but it could very well be up to 30 days or longer before we can get water to the north end. I was here during Opal. We had the same challenges. I have a perspective on what to expect. I'm optimistic that we have some service, non-potable, but water where you have to do a boil water notice. You cannot drink it. You can't do those kind of things with it, but you can start washing your stuff off and those kind of things. So, you know, we're in a situation right now to where we have low pressure, but we do have water to most of the south end. We have to isolate different subdivisions and mains because when we turn the water on, if there's damage in the house, then it could mess up a house. So we have to go door to door with our team. We have about 2,000 customers. So we're going to be in bad shape to the north of Cape San Blas for a while, but we're gradually, day by day, getting in better shape on the south end, and I'm pleased to be able to report that tonight.
So how many people currently do you have on the ground going to that door-to-door effort, checking and seeing every individual house's situation?
We have anywhere from about 3 to 5 to 10, depending on who can help us and how they help. We have a lot of subcontractors. We don't have a large staff. We have a working staff of about 5. Because we don't have a lot of contingencies for these things. We have been able to have some people come in and help us just volunteer work, and it's making a difference. So we've just got different agencies that have stepped up, and we're just happy to report that we're able to just get out there and go door to door. And you got to understand, some of these meters are under 2 or 3 or 4 feet of sand. So and so we're doing the best we can, and I think we're making some good ground on that regard.
So you said, though, there is one issue, though, for the challenge, the north end of the Cape. That's what you guys are trying to focus on, right?
That's correct. And as I said earlier, Linda, the Florida Department of Transportation, until they stabilize that road, which is about a half a mile, we can't go in. If I had the pipe sitting on the ground today, I can't do a thing. I mean, the National Guard's guarding it. They actually denied me access today because they're trying to fix the road, and I'm a utility, representative. So until they can stabilize that road with some good road base and bed, and they've been working on it diligently now for about 5 days, and they still have limited access, I think we're at least a week out before we even know what we can do and how much we have to do. We have to have our engineers come in, which is large international firm Dewberry Engineers. They're very competent. They have resources. We've been in touch with all of the appropriate state agencies, and they've lended a hand where they can. So this is a marathon, not a sprint.
All right, working quickly, of course. But tell us again, this is not your first time. A lot of learning lessons from 1995 in Opal. So what would you say is the biggest learning lesson that you have applied here to be able to restore the water and get it up and running so quickly?
Yeah, well, what we were able to do, we had generators in place. We had issues with generators, and the best situation that we had happen, the power was restored quickly. In Opal, it was not restored as quickly. So we were dead in the water playing with generators and things of that nature, and quite frankly, we had a generator come in, and it was brand new, and it was a bad generator. So that set us back a couple of days. So if we wouldn't have had our early issues that were just bad luck, we would have been up running a little bit quicker.
Of course, with every hurricane, there's learning lessons there, so good thing there. But we do want to remind people the boil advisory is still in effect. So even though these homes and businesses do get that water up and running, it's very important to heed to those boil advisories before you use it.
Absolutely, yeah. If you have water, don't drink it. Don't use it for any kind of consumption. You can spray your cars off, start doing some of your work around the house. If you want to boil it, do those kind of things, but do not drink the water. We'll notify you, and the media will notify you, and we'll go door to door and notify you, and then we're a ways off from that, several days at least.
All right, Jay, one other thing. You're a man of many hats here. You also own the Gulf Coast Real Estate Group. So tell us about we're just seeing residents start to pick up the pieces. We're seeing the damage to the houses. What kind of impact do you predict when it comes to the real estate in the area?
All right, well, our best gauge is what happened in Opal, which was not anywhere near this devastation, but it was bad enough for our area. As bad as this may sound, these terrible disasters put us on the national and international map. We have a limited amount of real estate here, and I think where we're going to be, I'm very optimistic, because I'll tell you why. When we start getting the debris out of here, cleared out, look at this. This is not just somewhere and not to be ugly, but this view is not going to change. It's just going to get enhanced. We had a lot of homes that were very old that would not have been to today's codes. So what I'm trying to tell you is as things get loosened up, and there'll be people in the next few months that will say, I'm staying, I can't stay, I can't afford to stay, I'm doubling down. And what we saw after Opal was a run up in prices, mainly because of the supply and demand situation. We had so much pressure from the region, and the national and international region put us on the map in a bad light, yet the vultures are already calling me. I'm already getting calls on my referral services. Hey, I don't want to sound like a vulture, but, and I'm like, let me get my office back from underneath the boat, and then we'll talk in a couple of weeks. So the market forces are going to work in this area. They always do. The unfortunate situation is the people that don't have the resources to grind it out for a month or two or three, or they don't have adequate insurance, and those things will all get worked out. I'd like to say that I believe the resources that have been brought to bear by all the agencies, the federal, the state, the local agencies, they're going to have immediate impact. And when I mean immediate, I mean in the next few months. You know, our infrastructure is struggling, but we're going to see a lot of new development that's up to code, and that's going to be better than we ever saw before.
So we likely may see some people unfortunately leave, but many new people come into the area potentially.
That's right, Linda.
All right, well, thank you so much.
Okay.
I really appreciate it. Best of luck.
Okay.
And I'm sure a lot of people are happy that they now have their water up and running again.
All right, thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Jay. So you heard it there, beautiful view out there. You're seeing kind of the impact that we may see with the hurricane aftermath. People, real estate, people trying to come to the area to kind of capitalize on the area, because of course the beach views are never going to change in the midst of the destruction. That is one thing that will stay constant. And you know what, I do want to highlight, we still have a flood of volunteers we mentioned earlier at the top of the show who constantly come up kind of unannounced, out of the blue, bringing truckloads of supplies. And we have some volunteers who made the trip all the way from Indiana.
That's right. We have Corey, Josiah, and Lisa over here. Do you guys want to come over here? They made the long trip from Indiana to provide relief to victims here in Port St. Joe. So how did this whole trip come about?
Well, Corey and Lisa actually have family in the area, and so they started raising support with our local friends through Facebook and started following the updates, and it kind of snowballed from there, and it was just a huge outpouring. They were gracious enough to allow me to jump on board with them and hang out and come just lend a hand. There's a lot of separation within our, the world we live in through social media and stuff like that. And it's just a great opportunity to come together as a community, regardless of where you're from and what you're doing, to just lend a helping hand and be a smiling face to people. And it's our pleasure and a big blessing for us just to even be here.
I know everyone's happy to have you guys here. Why was it so important to come here to Port St. Joe specifically?
My mother was born and raised here. My grandmother's lived here for about 80 years. My wife and I lived here for 5 years.
Yeah.
We know it's a small town, not 3,000 people around. I mean, we know everyone. Everyone, even after 5 years of moving away, still talks to us. They know us. And when we're sitting at home trying to do stuff around our house, projects, this and that, it feels fruitless. Like, we know there's a lot more good we could be doing. And she came home one day and looked at me, and we both kind of broke down and said, we got to go. And we started with our generator and a trailer and my UTV and said, we're going. And we said, well, let's try to put a fundraiser out there. And before we knew it, $6,000 came out of nowhere, and we said, well, we're going to buy all the generators we can. We need a bigger trailer. And we got the gracious help of our friend, and we loaded everything up, and here we are.
$6,000 is a lot of money and a lot of supplies you can get with that. I think you said you just found the quickest trailer you could, the biggest thing you could get, so bring everything here. Can you tell me what you brought and how you got here?
Yeah, we loaded up my SUV, so we laid the seats down and filled it top to bottom, front to back, full of supplies. our friends Yolanda and Scott let us borrow their cattle trailer, and we literally loaded it top to bottom, front to back, with supplies, our UTV, so we could drive things around town and help. So we used the $6,000 to buy supplies and fuel. We filled up a bunch of gas cans before we came because we know that's scarce. And then we additionally got tons of donated items from people in our community too. Local Do It Best, dental offices in town, businesses in Fort Wayne where we live gave us discounts when we bought things. I mean, Menards gave us about $1,000 off our purchase, so we were able to stretch the dollars that we had further. And we just loaded up and drove south. We stayed the night in Alabama last night with family, so we were able to get some rest and a good meal, and took off this morning, and all the stuff we brought has already been distributed. So we took things to White City Baptist Church, where we knew they had a high need, and then we brought stuff to the Gulf County Sheriff's Office, where they also know exactly where it needs to be distributed.
So now, having already distributed the supplies that you brought, what were the reactions that you got? I don't know if each of you probably have a different experience with handing stuff out, so.
I think it's all the items that we take for granted every single day. You know, to go to your closet and have clothes to wear, to be able to put shoes on your feet, to go to a pantry or a refrigerator and get food, and to see people so gracious for those things that we do every single day. That's always a powerful moment for me.
It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking seeing the look on their face. Like, you feel like you're doing good, but it's terrible that you're in that position to have to do good or to be able to do good. But the gratitude you see on their faces, that's all we really do it for, and we're just happy to help.
Yeah, I mean, we're 3 people among millions and millions that live in this country, and, you know, change happens one set of hands at a time. So if the 3 of us can bring change to the area and impact people's lives in a positive way, I mean, we got lots of hugs at the sheriff's office and smiles. It's really the only gratitude we need. You know, we're just doing this as a work of love and God's ministry, really. We're able to take the love from Northeast Indiana and bring it down here to people that need it.
So amazing and so greatly appreciated. And I know you said you lived here for 4 years, so the community's near and dear to your hearts. Just coming in here and seeing it for the first time, what emotions did you guys feel?
I was floored. I grew up in Texas. I've lived here, been coming here every summer of my life. We've weathered hurricanes before, obviously nothing of this magnitude. It's amazing the destruction that's out there, and you know, seeing a landscape that you're used to seeing in one way and seeing it totally different. It's heart dropping. It's hard.
Yeah, I have no words. We took a quick loop around town, and it'll just never look the same again. The heart of everyone here will be the same, but it will never look the same again. It's such a beautiful, unique part of the country that was such a piece of beauty. It's gone.
Like you said, the heart remains the same, and I know you guys saw a lot of that today as you were distributing supplies. Can you just talk about the strength of this community, especially what you experienced today interacting with victims who needed the relief?
I think the biggest thing is it's always, you know, when you go through a crisis, you see the good that comes out of it. You know, it's easy to get caught up in all the bad, but just people treating each other as humans, helping out with whatever, whether it's distributing food, stacking items, cleaning up yards, all that stuff is just a very powerful thing to see, and just it gives you hope that we can all instill that within our communities, and that all is underlying, and it's a great thing to see that everyone bonding together for a common goal.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you said. I was coming down here, you know, fresh arms, fresh back, fresh legs, had food in my belly, had a shower last night, and I was calling every friend I knew when I got within 30 miles, asking them if I can come and help them. And they were like, no, I tell you what, though, I'll meet you at your house and I'll help you clean up your grandma's yard. Like,
Yeah.
what? It doesn't even register. It's people coming together to help people. It's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, we moved here in the spring of 2010, and we were immediately taken in as part of the community. I mean, you know, Corey's mom has lived here a long time, his grandmother, his grandfather, but we got here and you would have thought we'd lived here our whole lives. People were inviting us over for meals, I mean, inviting us to their kids' birthday parties, and we were newcomers, and so being a part of a small town is something I had never experienced. I've only lived in big cities. Fort Wayne is a city of about 250,000 people. It's the smallest place I've ever lived, besides here. So it was a really unique experience for me to come in as, wife of someone who had family here, and people took us in like we were family. And we still keep in contact, like you said, every people we've known, and I know that they have the strength to rebuild. It won't be easy, but they have the grit to do it, and it will get done with time.
Well, Josiah, Corey, and Lisa, thank you so much for sharing your experiences here in Port St. Joe with us, and of course for bringing relief as well. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now, so a lot of people coming in to provide relief here in Gulf County, and of course, there's still many devastated areas as well. And Lisa, or Linda, sorry, just interviewed Lisa. Linda, I know you're here with a local owner of a business as well. So.
Yeah, and so many area businesses impacted. We're seeing it behind us, all around, destruction everywhere. Joining us is David Warner. You are the owner of the Port Inn, one of the main hotels in the area. Not much is left of it, and you only recently got to come and take a look at the damage. You're still processing it.
I think it was yesterday, maybe the day before. I really have lost track of time. But it was recently.
So what are your thoughts? You've only had a couple days to really process what has happened here.
Well, the hotel's just part of the problem, and it'll be okay in the future, sometime down the road. But it's really the size and the scope of the damage and my neighbors and everybody. I live up here on the highway. I took 4 feet of water in my house, but it wasn't just me. My neighbors had complete wash-throughs. I mean, all my stuff at least stayed in the house, but their other neighbors everything just washed away. And so the scope of the suffering and the damage is just hard to fathom. So that's my thoughts. It's just have trouble consuming this.
And to give people perspective, we are literally like within walking distance, within 5 minutes we could get there. Just over there in the corner, your office has a tree over it. Tell us about the damage.
Well, the tree, of all the properties I own, quite a few around here, we've only had one tree down on one business, and it was my office right next door, which was built in 1938. It was an old DuPont home. So it may be a tear down. I mean, after all's said and done, I'm going to see what I can do to keep it. But we're right across the street here. Patty and Dewey opened their restaurant a couple months before we opened the Port Inn. So we both have been in business for a long time, and really they're the mainstay of the restaurant operation here in Port St. Joe, and we're kind of the key to the hospitality hub here in downtown Port St. Joe. So seeing that we're going to be out of business for a while. I mean, fortunately, my other hotel came through it well. It's on the edge of town, and it's inland a little bit, and it was built to withstand a hurricane. It came through well. So we still have some operations going on, but this is going to be something.
And as you kind of wait for insurance to kind of assess what can be salvaged, of course, your other hotel, the Mainstay, is serving as a place of stay for first responders, evacuees who are still seeking shelter there. Many people still can't go back to their home, so you're still trying to provide that service to people.
Yeah, initially, people were just looking for something that had, we fortunately had a generator installed out there by Duke Power, came and showed up. They were rock stars. They came out there and they powered it up. Their employees were staying there. We had, who else was staying out there? It's just a variety of people that needed to be here right away. So a number of people locally who are homeless because of this are staying there. Right now it's about a 50-50 mix, and some of these early responders are starting to move out and make room for some of the evacuees, the people that live here, trying to find a home.
Very, very tough situation, not only for the community, but for you as a business owner. You were explaining how you had to make some very tough business decisions in the recent days. You have employees, and because you have a business that is currently not functioning, that's affecting your employees here.
Yeah, when you don't have a bar anymore, you really don't have a need for bartenders. We try to repurpose them and help, find other work for them to do in the organization, and we've been able to do that with a number of them. But we've had to make some pretty tough decisions, and it's been a tough day. Today has been a tough day. Yeah.
And you mentioned another thing in the mix. I'm sure there's a ton of things in your head. You mentioned your beach house, your other properties. You have 5 other properties in the area. you only got here like a day ago. How do you even begin to prioritize what to tackle first?
Well, you know, you always start your home. Well, first thing we did is we went to the mainstay to check in, and I hugged all my employees that were there because they've just been going through it. They've been down here working through the storm, keeping our guests comfortable and keep them from freaking out during the storm. So there were people that worked right through the storm. So they got a big hug from me, every one of them, and just a few tears. And then we went to our house. You know, you got to start with your home and try to just assess the damage. Today was the first day. I've been here 2 days. I got here late afternoon 2 days ago. And today's the first day I actually physically walked into the Port Inn. So that gives me an idea. It gives you an idea of how massive and the responsibilities that are here that got to be taken. Because I mean, it's everywhere. Right. I mean, it really is everywhere.
And on a lighter note, the Port Inn, we just want to mention that pretty big music festival was supposed to set place. And of course, us being from Nashville, we always love those
BMI
local
hat?
ties. Yes, BMI, we love that hat. The concert was supposed to be Blast on the Bay. A lot of local artists from the Nashville area were supposed to be here. Unfortunately, it's been postponed because of the hurricane, but they're still coming.
A couple of them are coming anyway. They said they already had it scheduled. They hopped in their motor coaches and their RVs, and they're heading this way. One of them's here right now. Brett Jones just called me. Wrote Crazy Town. He's written a bunch of stuff. He's an awesome writer. He called me right after the storm and said, "Buddy, I'm coming. What do you need? Bring him a chainsaw. I love to cut stuff up." So he's here with his family. Just rolled into town, so he's here. Tom Shepard's going to come. Tom's, a lot of people know Tom. He's quite a character. He's bringing his RV in. He's coming to stay and work, and you know, I think they're still going to play a little music for us. We got to find the appropriate venue to do that, because we don't want it to be too festive because of but we want to raise people's spirits and lift people's spirits a little bit, and I think they want to also.
Music is always a good way, and of course, Tennessee, we are the volunteer state, so whatever we can do to help, we are always there. Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Best of luck, of course. And I know it's a long road to recovery, but you seem to be very positive, and that's what it takes.
Well, thank you for being here. Gulf County has kind of been forgotten in this whole thing, and there's only one way in after the storm. The roads were cut. You couldn't get through Mexico Beach. You couldn't get here from Apalachicola. Highway 71 had trees on it, so really we were cut off from the real world. I mean, unless you flew here over in a helicopter. So thank you for coming and caring about us here in Gulf County, in Port St. Joe.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Okay. Okay, well, of course, we just heard from David Warner he is the owner of the Port Inn here, just one of the many business owners that have been impacted by the sheer force of Hurricane Michael. But as we heard from him, you know, they're staying positive in light of trying to just absorb everything that has happened, both on the business side, but a lot of these people are homeowners too. Their own livelihoods are at stake here.
That's right, and everyone working really hard just to come back during the aftermath of Hurricane Michael. We want to really quick reset and let everyone know where we are. If you're just joining us, we're in Port St. Joe in Gulf County, one of the affected towns from Hurricane Michael. This is Linda and I'm Carly, and we're just kind of going around and talking to people about the positivity that is here in light of the storm.
Yeah, we're hearing from so many people, business owners, volunteers coming from very far, making really long trips with truck full of supplies, and they're not stopping here. They're coming back. They're trying to find out who really needs the help. So this effort is not only local, it's on the state level. You know, it's neighbor helping neighbor. We're seeing so much outreach and so much help coming from every single direction.
And like you said, you know, this is a town that a lot of people live in and a lot of people visit as well. And so we're going to talk about those people who are wanting to come back to Port St. Joe. We're joined now by TDC Marketing Director Christy Grove. So now, obviously, the St. Joe community, Port St. Joe, is beloved by so many people. And you have so many visitors that come year-round to enjoy this town. Can you just talk about what they can expect? Because people are going to be able to come back. This community will rebuild.
This community will rebuild. And if you have been driving around today, you'll see how this community kind of comes together, and that's what we love about Gulf County. Everyone is coming together and they want to rebuild because they love everyone coming here and showing off this beautiful every part of Gulf County, from Cape San Blas to the Dead Lakes up in Weehawken. We expect everybody to come back. I've already been contacted by many people who are going, what can I do to help you? Because they all want to come back and visit here again.
And that's so great to hear that people who, they may not spend full time here, but they spend part of their time here and it's already touched them so much that they want to come back and provide relief. I think you mentioned that someone in your family is bringing relief as well.
Yes, actually my father, everyone from the Chattanooga, Tennessee area sent down a truck a couple of days ago, 26-foot truck, and we distributed that. There's another one that's coming down in a couple of days. I believe they leave tomorrow evening. So everybody in that area is just wanting to help. It's just amazing, the outpouring of love that we're receiving from guests who used to stay here. They're asking questions about, oh, this place was my favorite vacation home. How is it? When will I be able to come back and stay there again? We love Gulf County.
All right, now you said that you have family and people reaching out to you wanting to provide relief. What are some of the things that are needed here the most?
At this time, I have learned a little bit more today. Insect repellent, things for poison ivy even. We have a lot of workers here that are working nonstop to get things up and going, and sometimes those people forgetting about, water for them. They running in my backyard, they ran across a yellow jacket's nest, cutting trees from my power lines, things like that you don't kind of come prepared for. We're lucky we've got food and we've got water being delivered on a daily basis. Our pharmacies are up and open for distributions of medications, so anything can help. There's a lot of people that do need clothing. Also, a lot of not just new clothing, because the schools are going to be starting back in the next week. We're happy to hear that. New clothing, but work clothes as well. So anything will actually help. Baby wipes and diapers, those type of commodities are really needed at this time.
And now we've seen a lot of workers throughout the town and really the surrounding areas as well working to get things back. Power, water, get students back in school, things like that. I know you're from Port St. Joe, you live here now. How have you seen people reach out and try to really rebuild this community? Can you talk a little bit about those relief efforts?
And it's really different. A lot of people, you just spoke with David Warner, they are from this area. But there are a lot of people that own businesses here that are not from this area, that have come here, vacationed here, and grown to love this community and have moved here and had opened businesses. Alex and Scotty from the Sand Dollar, for instance, they cannot wait to get back here to rebuild their business. It's that type of community. They're not going to just say, oh, it's a loss and we're going to go back to Atlanta where we came from. No, this place has a special place in everybody's heart once you come here, and they are all wanting to be rebuilt. You go down Reed Avenue today, they are out there working to rebuild these areas and to rebuild these restaurants so people can come and eat, and rebuild the shops so people can come and shop again. It is our livelihood. We want the tourists here. They like coming here because they feel like a local, and that's what we want them to feel like.
And now the locals that we've seen, there's just such a resiliency. We keep using that word because there's really no better word to describe it, it seems like. And there's been such positivity despite what is all around us right now, the town looking a little different than normal. So how do you describe this community?
Oh, there's no words to describe it, actually. You just look around some of the people that you have spoken to today. Another gentleman is in the insurance with Hannon Insurance. He's at work. He goes to work Monday morning to help everyone here when he lost his entire home. That right there speaks a lot of how we want to take care of each other. It's not just about taking care of ourselves, but you're out there taking care of your neighbors. I go home and you have my trees are cut because my neighbor came over while I was busy answering the telephones yesterday. So it is there's no words to describe this place except for love. That we just love each other.
It's the Port St. Joe way.
It is. It's the Gulf County way.
It is. I love that. Thank you so much for talking to us, Christy.
Thank you all for coming down today. We appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you so much again. And as Christy said, this community is going to rebuild. If you were a local who lives here year-round, or you're just someone who comes and enjoys Gulf County for a few months out of the year, this community is going to rebuild, and they're going to be back where they were before, back on their feet.
Exactly, and we hope that's faster than ever, of course, because we want to see everybody back and running, returning to their everyday lives. And we love to spotlight those stories where people have been able to overcome the odds. Connie Stent here of St. Joe Bar and Package on Long Reed Avenue, not too far from here. You were one of the few businesses that, you're up and running You have water. This is very rare in this area.
It is. I'm overwhelmed with the amount of help that this town has received, and we honestly do have water and power, which is a blessing. And
are you surprised by that? Just seeing all the destruction, all these businesses that aren't able to function.
I am very surprised by that. I can't even believe that we have power, but when they turned it on, I was very thankful, no doubt.
And you were saying that in the immediate aftermath of the hurricane, there were some very important steps that you and the owner took to kind of minimize the damage, which might be a good learning lesson for a lot of business owners out there if, God forbid, anything like this were to ever happen again.
Yes, that is true. I evacuated, but the owner stayed. And as soon as the storm went through, he immediately went down there and opened up and let all the water come out. So by doing that and then like unplugging everything and opening up things, I think that is what saved us, because it wasn't sitting in the salt water for hours and days. And so the other day when the power came on, we were actually surprised how 90% of everything actually turned on, and it's working as of right now. So I think that the steps that he took saved us in getting up and running and opening our doors and employing our employees, and having a place for people to come.
And people will be able to go back to work. That is, of course, a big concern for a lot of these business owners, the local economy. You want people to go back to work at these fully functioning businesses so people can go back to their everyday lives and make money, of course, because people need money for those repairs for their own homes. But tell us, you've been a resident of Port St. Joe now for 25, 30 years. What are your thoughts on just the destruction to the area and kind of the recovery so far?
I'm really just overwhelmed on a daily basis to see the amount of devastation that this area has. I stayed through April, and I'm glad that I did not stay for this, but I'm truly blessed that everybody we've checked on so far is okay. They may not have a home, but they have their lives, and we're very thankful for that. I don't know. I'm still trying to take it all in, to be honest with you, but I can tell you the amount of help that this town has received is overwhelming, and the amount of love that this community is getting makes me want to work harder every day to make this place the place that it used to be. And honestly, I believe that I know people come here because of the beaches and different things like that, but I fell in love with this place because of the community and the love of the people in this community. And I think that a lot of people that come here feel the same way. So I hope that that is what will bring us back to life and will have people to continue to come here.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing that just by going around the county and just talking to residents and business owners. But tell us about the way forward with the bar right now. Not much damage, luckily, but there's still some cleanup to be done, correct?
Yes, that is true. We are cleaning, and we hope, if everything goes the way that it should right now, that we should be able to open in a week to 2 weeks. And that will give, Reed Avenues a business that's open, something that's normal, I guess you could say. And hopefully the other places in town will be able to do the same. So, we just pray for everybody and just hope that everybody can open up and pull together and make this town great again.
All right, well, we appreciate you talking to us. We're glad that your business is still mostly intact, and that, people will be able to come there. One of the few businesses open in the area, hopefully soon. So thank you again.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
All right. Again, one of the more lighthearted stories of businesses being able to kind of overcome the odds here with the impact of Hurricane Michael. We hear very few stories of that, because mostly we've heard of stories of people experiencing so much damage to their homes and businesses. So, but it's all, again, part of the recovery, varying degrees of damage here. But again, people are resilient. People are going to work hard, and people are not going to give up and let this hurricane bring them down.
That's right, they're not. And we've seen so many people come forward to help out. And, luckily, people have been so willing to come from other counties, other states to help provide that relief. So we actually have here the Walton County PIO, Corey DeBridnia, who was deployed here to Gulf County. Now, I know that you've been all throughout this area, and this area holds a special place in your heart. So to see it the way it is now, but also be out around all the people of this community who still have such a positivity, what's that like for you?
Yeah, I used to cover this county when I worked for WMBB. I ate here several times. I love this place. I love this county. The people here are so, like Linda said, they're so resilient, and you haven't seen a single person not smiling. If they've lost everything, they're still saying, "I'm so blessed. I'm so blessed." So it's been hard, really hard, because you want to see things as you remember them, as you loved them. But things change. Hopefully, it'll be better.
So now you told me that you used to sit out on the deck here at Sunset Grill to see the way it is now. I mean, we still have the wine glasses up there that look okay, but to see the rest of it the way it is, what's going through your mind?
I just can't believe it. I just can't believe that that Mother Nature has this kind of power. When you see it firsthand, when you're standing here, it's so hard to grasp it. I sat on this deck many times. I love the food here, and you can't beat the view. And who else would want to eat anywhere else? You know, when you come here, and you heard from the owners, they're amazing people. Everybody here is just so amazing, and it's devastating. It really makes my heart hurt just looking at it.
Now you mentioned the view and all. We're here, sun's about to set, and it still has that beauty here. You know, the scenery might look a little different, but we still have that beautiful Gulf and that beautiful sunset. And you know this community so well. How would you describe the resiliency of the residents here in Port St. Joe and all of Gulf County?
Oh, they're amazing people. And you talk about resiliency and just being so neighborly, and you guys have talked about that the whole newscast. I mean, there is just so much to be said for neighbors helping neighbors, and I walk up to people and they say, "Oh, I remember you being here. I used to remember seeing you." And it's the friendly city. It's a small big town, and everybody loves everybody. And I hate to see it this way, but I just know that it's gonna pay off. It's gonna be okay, and they're gonna come back better than before.
It's like you said, people remember you and they see you here from your time working here, and I think we've noticed a lot of that as well. Yes. Just the really just energetic, ecstatic sense of community. I mean, people are so eager to help out here and lend a hand, and I'm sure you're off from out of town, but you've gotten to experience a lot of what we've experienced in our time here as well.
Yeah, so many helping hands here locally, also from out of state. I mean, even for us doing these live coverages, people are coming up asking if we want water. We're not really the people here who need help, especially as out-of-towners. And you know what? My heart goes out to this community, you guys too, because you guys are part of this community. I'm seeing the resilience every day, and I'm going to leave this area knowing that you guys will be able to recover. And I must say, I don't know how some of you guys are able to hold back your tears. I can imagine it's tough, but it just speaks to just how strong this community really is.
And I know I can speak for myself. I had a good probably 48 hours where even I was crying, because it's like we know what this place looked like before, this whole area. I don't know if you had any feelings like that as well, but then it changes. It shifts when you see the people coming out and helping one another.
Yeah, and I just couldn't sit at home. And I feel like a lot of people feel that way, even though, I live in Bay County. I work for Walton County, but we went through the storm and I was just looking, where can I be? Where can I help? And I feel like a lot of people feel that way. I love this place, and I don't want to see it this way, but if I can do anything to help, I just want to be here.
Thank you so much, Corey, for talking with us. Let's just loop around here a little more if we can for our final 2 minutes of the show. We just want to show you again, this is Sunset Grill here in Port St. Joe and Gulf County. We had so many people reach out to us on social media, Facebook, saying, it's not only Bay County, it's the surrounding counties too. Right. We haven't forgotten about you guys. We hear you as well. We all want to help. And so we're happy that we were able to be here and talk about some of the devastation in this community and the resiliency, because it is important that all of these areas aren't forgotten. And we're here now, but we're going to continue to be here for weeks, months, and years to come to try and help provide this relief any way we can.
Right, and with every recovery effort, it takes time. There is a long road ahead, but I feel like the willpower and resiliency, I know we've talked a lot about that, that's going to go a long way. This is a tight-knit community, especially Gulf County. They're tight-knit. Everybody knows each other. You're hearing everybody call each other on a first-name basis, and helping out in any way they can. And that's really what's going to take them to that next step of recovery. And that's going to go a really long way. And, you know, I do want us, if we can, take one more look at this beautiful sunset. That is something that is going to stay constant through this road to recovery. It is absolutely beautiful. You can see the sunset on the coast, and it's shining. And it's, you know, that's going to be the constant here. This is a beautiful place. And this destruction, well, it's going to take a while for the infrastructure and all these businesses and homeowners to pick up the pieces. This community is strong.
And something that we've been talking about is that sense of normalcy, and I think we have a little bit of that there. Thanks for joining us with our live coverage. News 13 at 5 will be up after this.
This is Hurricane Michael, the road to recovery on News 13, your local leader.
Fire.